It looks like the government shutdown is finally coming to a close, but also it looks like the Democrats have lost the battle to fund the Affordable Care Act, and thank goodness for that. But what we're going to see today, of course, is a very angry Bernie Sanders actually come out and bash Obamacare, although I don't think he really meant to. But before we get these clips, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe on this video so we can break through the algorithms. Here we go.
I understand that the way the process has been developed, it is impossible to delay the votes that are going to take place. And if that were not the case, that is certainly what I would do, because I think it is important that the American people fully understand what is being voted on today. Everybody in America knows that our current health care system is broken, it is dysfunctional, it is cruel, it is by far the most expensive health care system in the world, and the only healthcare system of any major country that does not guarantee health care to all people as a human right, covering every man, woman, and child. We are unique in that respect. And yet tonight, what this Senate is about to do is make a horrific situation even worse. So let's be clear what this vote is about. If this vote succeeds, over 20 million Americans are going to see at least a doubling in their premiums in the Affordable Care Act. In my state of Vermont and throughout this country, for certain groups of people, it will be a tripling and a quadrupling of their premiums. There are people who will now be paying 50% of their limited incomes for health care. Does anybody in the world think that makes sense? And if this resolution is passed tonight, we are on a pathway to throw 15 million Americans off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. 15 million. Our job is to create universal health care, guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child, not throw 15 million people off the health care they have, low-income and working-class people.
So notice what Bernie Sanders just said, right? The current healthcare system is broken. It's too expensive. Well, who created the current healthcare system? It was the Democrats. Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, was supposed to be the first step into socialized medicine, something that Bernie Sanders is advocating for here, right? We have to have universal healthcare coverage, every single man, woman, and child. Well, think about this, Bernie, right? We just tried this experiment, and what happened to our premiums? What happened to our healthcare costs? They skyrocketed, right? They are acquiring massive government subsidies just to be affordable. So if we actually give everyone universal basic health care, what's going to happen? Oh, the costs are going to skyrocket again, only you're not going to see it in your health care. You're going to see it in your taxes. And just like all these other places around the world that supposedly have their universal health care, right? It's going to suck, only you're not going to realize it. Long wait times, poor service, lack of innovation. These are the things that people in these socialized systems have to live with, only they're blissfully unaware of it. And in places like Canada that we've mentioned before, they actually had to reinstitute private healthcare because the public option wasn't going so well. And also, what else did they do? Oh, the public unaliving. All right. If you're too burdensome on the system, they're going to push that on you, right? Is that what Bernie Sanders really wants? No, he just wants coverage for everybody at a huge expense that will be hidden so that people don't know any different. Okay. So yes, there are huge glaring problems with our current healthcare system, and it all lays at the feet of the Democrats. But what I want to show you now is some testimony given before Senate just a couple of days ago about how corrupt and awful the Obamacare system is. So check this out.
6 decades ago, Medicaid was created for the truly needy: children, seniors, pregnant women, and individuals with disabilities and poverty. And for 5 decades, that remained mostly true. And then the Affordable Care Act radically changed that. Obamacare expanded Medicaid to a new class: able-bodied adults, roughly 70% of whom are childless. More than 60% self-report they don't work at all, and most are men. Today, there are more able-bodied adults, nearly 40 million, on Medicaid than any other group. For every senior on Medicaid, there are almost 5 able-bodied adults, more than 4 for every disabled person on Medicaid, and more adults than children. And even though elderly and disabled Americans are more than 3 times more expensive to cover, taxpayers spend more in total for able-bodied adults on Medicaid. In the first decade of Medicaid expansion, the program cost taxpayers more than $1 trillion, which was twice as much as originally estimated. Meanwhile, as that's happened, 700,000 Americans with intellectual and physical disabilities are stuck on Medicaid home and community waiting lists, while Obamacare's able-bodied adults are always at the front of the line. Imagine 3 people: the most physically disabled person you ever met, an impoverished elderly grandmother with severe dementia in a nursing home, and an able-bodied 20-something-year-old man who chooses not to work. Thanks to Medicaid expansion, for every dollar states spend on that 20-something-year-old man, they'll get $9 in federal match. But for that severely disabled person or that frail elderly grandmother, for every dollar a state spends, the federal government will only match about $1.30. That 90% Obamacare match perversely means that in tough times, when states have to cut back, for every dollar they cut from that 20-something-year-old man, the state will only save 10 cents. But for every dollar they cut from the elderly or disabled, the state will save 43 cents of their share of the spending. Meanwhile, Medicaid expenditures for illegal aliens have also skyrocketed through a whole variety of categories: emergency services, qualified alien, or lawfully residing status, as well as through state-funded programs like in California, or by using loopholes like reasonable opportunity periods. In fact, the number of individuals applying and receiving Medicaid coverage through a reasonable opportunity period who were unable to prove their citizenship skyrocketed 400% during the Biden administration. And what's worse is states have taken advantage of abusive money laundering schemes under the guise of so-called things like provider taxes, state-directed payments, or intergovernmental transfers to bankroll even more expenditures for expansion adults and illegal aliens. That's why the big, beautiful bill, under which Medicaid spending is still growing by 33% over the next decade, created common sense Medicaid work requirements for these able-bodied adults. It addressed the abusive provider taxes and state-directed payments, closed loopholes that allowed coverage for illegal aliens, as well as created a $50 billion rural health reinvestment fund while cracking down on fraud, waste, and abuse.
Do you like t-shirts? Of course you do. And now you can support the channel by buying an Angry Teacher t-shirt designed by me, Angry Teacher. So if you like America, if you like freedom, if you like liberty, then go ahead and click the link in the description, where all designs, of course, are 100% mother approved. So enjoy yourself and find something you like today.